Wine's thumb traced over the worn edges of her passport, an excited smile tugging at her lips. In just a few hours, she had been on a flight to Paris, to the city of lights, love, and the man who had been hers from miles away, David. They had first met 3 years ago at an art exhibition in Paris. What began as a chance encounter turned into endless conversation and phone calls across time zones, adjusting the schedule just to hear each other's voices. The bond only grew deeper with time. After a year of being good friends, it was Vine who finally confessed her feelings to David. She was worried he might not feel the same and would end everything then. But things turned out differently. He felt the connection too. She still remembers that day clearly. He took an entire day to reply. Maybe he was busy, but the wait felt endless to her. And when he finally said yes, she was the happiest she had ever been. They spent 4 hours on a video call that night, talking and smiling until he grew tired and fell asleep. When David, I'm at the airport. Call me when you can. I'll be boarding my flight in the next 2 hours. She sent the text and noticed the single tick. It wasn't delivered. She had been messaging him since morning but hadn't received anything in return. Must be sleeping. She slipped her phone into her pocket and walked towards the food court. Sitting down with a steaming cup of coffee and a sandwich, she tried to fuel herself for a long 13-hour flight ahead. Almost out of habit, she tapped his name again, this time with no real hope. The phone rang for a while, and just as she was about to pull it away from her ear, the line clicked. David had answered. Wine. David? She whispered, her voice caught between surprise and relief. David. Wine, I'm so sorry. I must have dozed off. Wine. Oh my god, David. I was freaking out. She exhaled, finally relaxing as she took a bite of her sandwich. David, I'll make it up to you when you're finally here. She could hear the smile in his voice. When I'm excited to board the flight. Biting her lips, she imagined the first kiss under the Eiffel Tower. She finally got into her flight, checked her seat, stopped in front of it, and tried to lift her bag into the overhead compartment. It was heavier than she had thought. She helplessly tried again until a hand reached out from behind and effortlessly slid the bag into place. She turned around and found a man standing a little too close, his features striking her under the cabin lights. Next to him, she looked tiny. Thanks, she murmured, offering a polite smile. It's fine, he replied, a faint smile playing on his lips. They took the seat side by side. One turned towards the window, her heart fluttering, not because of him, but because in just a few hours she would finally be with David. Is this your first time? He asked, nodding towards her tight grip on the armrest. She blinked. Oh, do I look that nervous? A little, he chuckled lightly. She let out a small laugh. One, I'm just excited. I'm meeting someone. He nodded understanding. That explains the glow. Her ears warmed. It's not that obvious, is it? A bit, he smiled. She shifted slightly in her seat. Why? What about you? Business trip? She guessed from his attire. Partly, he replied. Work doesn't let me travel in peace, but I'm stealing a few days for myself. Paris is a good place to do that. It is, he agreed, glancing at her. Feels different every time. There was a brief pause, not awkward, just quiet. THV, I'm Taehyung by the way, he said, extending his hand. When? Nice to meet you. She smiled softly and shook it, his grip warm and steady. They spoke for a little while after that. Light conversation, nothing too personal, just enough to pass the time. But exhaustion soon caught up to her. Her words began to trail off, her eyes fluttering shut until she finally drifted to sleep. A few minutes later, they noticed the slight shiver that ran through her. Without saying a word, he slipped off his coat and gently draped it over her shoulder. A quiet, polite gesture before settling back into his seat as the plane flew steadily through the night. Morning light filtered through the tiny window and Vine stirred slightly. She blinked awake, confused for a second, until she felt something warm around her shoulders. She realized it was Taehyung's coat and thanked him for who was already awake watching YouTube videos. The morning was quiet. She simply shared her snack with him in return for helping her twice and being a good company. The 13 hours finally came to an end when the captain finally announced they were going to land. As the plane touched down and passengers began gathering their things, an odd quiet settled between them. Well, Taeyong said, adjusting his bag over his shoulders. It was nice meeting you. I hope we cross paths again. She smiled brighter this time. Maybe we will. You never know. Wine walked out of the airport looking for David, approaching from a distance. Excited, she ran towards him and wrapped her arms tightly around his waist. I miss you so much, she whispered into his chest. He smiled. Me too. Leaning down, he kissed on her cheek. They settled down in his car as he drove them to a small cafe first for breakfast before driving home.